So, how would you feel if one day your parents told you to clean the house and do all the chores so that the house can look very clean and nice? Um, then the next day, some people came over to the house and started praising your parents, even though it was you who was the one that made like the house look clean. Well, I would feel very pissed because I did all this hard work and I did not get anything out of it. Well, this is essentially what the NCAA is doing with their athletes. They're like the ones putting themselves at risk and all that, and then like they're the ones keeping all the money. So I feel like that's very unfair of them. Um, my topic is going to be why college athletes should be paid. My thesis is college athletes need to be paid for all the hard work they do and because of how much revenue they put in for the NCAA. Well, first today I'm going to talk about how much the NCAA makes and then what ways they can do, to like pay their student athletes and all that. Um, Second, I'll tell you about how the NCAA doesn't even invest back into like the programs, for education or dorms and stuff like that. And third, I will also talk about the other side, the cons about why like it's not ideal to pay the student athletes so that you guys can like make like your own minds. So for the first one, I'll start how much money the NCAA makes and how they can pay their student athletes. So the NCAA is like $11 billion industry. The net worth is $11 billion. So obviously they have enough money to pay their athletes. Quote, the NCAA currently produces nearly $11 billion in annual revenue from college sports, more than the estimated total league revenue of both the NBA and the NHL. Mark Edelman. The NCAA makes more than the NBA and the NHL, and they do not still like pay their student athletes not a single dime, even though the NBA and NHL pro athletes they make a lot of money. So I feel like that's just unfair. I know that like it's not like you cannot pay like all of them the same, but like for each sport that they play, let's say football and basketball is obviously gonna make more than like let's say I don't know hockey or like swimming and stuff like that because they're not as popular. But still, I feel like they could like work something out so that they're not like poor. Quote, according to a 2012 study by the National College Players Association, NCPA, and the Drexel University Sports Management Program, the annual player market value for the average NCAA football bowl submission football player at the time was $137,000. For the average big time men's basketball player was almost $300,000. Nancy Skinner. This is just an estimate of how much like each player is worth. So I feel like like at least like get paid, like maybe like 100,000 a year, like not even like that much, like just so that they have, like a comfortable life and stuff. Like I said, obviously the popular sports are gonna make more, but I feel like they could like work something out so that the student athletes, aren't that poor. Another quote. According to 2014 Indiana University study, 60% of middle-aged former NCAA Division I athletes suffer major injuries and 50% reported chronic injuries, nearly double the rate of non-athletes. The Williamson case highlights just how unfair the system is. Players are forced into a system which they play for essentially no compensation, but there is injury that could seriously impact their future. Nancy Skinner. So like I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago, Zion Williamson, he's like a big time basketball player. He got hurt, because his shoe like blew out, and then like there was all this debate saying, like he should be paid, compensation, all that, because he's like they're calling him the next LeBron James. So obviously like he's like the next big thing. So if he got hurt, obviously it would have been a big blow for the not only the NCAA but the NBA. So that's why like all this debates like started like coming back up to the surface. So, and then college the coaches make so much money that it's not even fair, Actually, some coaches even make more than like the coaches from like NBA and NFL, and they even make more money than the players on the NFL, like premier players too. Quote, meanwhile, Forbes report in December that University of Alabama football coach Nick Saban's new contract will pay him over $7 million per year from his university. Mark Edelman. That's like a big number, you know what I'm saying? Like $7 million for a coach. Like I know that it takes into a big account of what a program does and stuff, but like $7 million is too much. Like that money could go into like some players, like the big time players, so that they're not, like broke and stuff like that. So, and then the NCAA also acts as an employer, even though they do not pay anything to their employees. Quote, there is something wrong with the fact that the players aren't paid what they're worth. As economics Damon Jones, Stanford grad, put it on Twitter. You demand you demand to be professional, then you should pay the salaries that are professional. Quote Arcaden. This is not another tactic that the NCAA does. They expect the student athletes to be professional and all that, even though they don't pay them anything. They expect them to be professional, even though they don't get professional salaries. So, transition. As you can see, the NCAA is a very direct company and it does not compensate their employees, which are the student athletes, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. Being a student athlete is being a student and work at the same time, but working for free pretty much. Quote, being a college student athlete is a full-time job bouncing between the weight room, court, classes, and film sessions. College athletics are, extracurricular activities, but the schedules of the NCAA tournaments require an extended period in which the students athletes must miss school. Not only do they miss class, but they're absent for national televised games that makes a lot of money and receive millions of views. Madison Martinez. Missing all these classes, going on trips and all that, that's like a corporate job, you go from one place to another, your job is supposed to pay you, but NCAA doesn't pay you anything. Obviously, you get excused for your absences, but still, that's hurting their chances of education and graduating in the future. The only thing that the NCAA does for them is giving them free tuition, but still, let's say you get hurt or something, you won't go pro because, I don't know, you tore your ACL and stuff like that. That's just, really bad, so you need to, compensate them for, doing all that. Transition. Male student athletes is just unfair. They say that it's a blessing to play for the NCAA, but they still need to be compensated, especially because of how much money they bring in for them. Now we need to talk about the concept of paying the student athlete. If salaries were given, then these college student athletes would have to pay taxes depending on the student athlete's income. Those taxes could be high enough to reduce what they earn until they can barely cover tuition. As in Martinez, that is one of the biggest debates, because they say, if obviously if you get employed, you need to pay taxes, and they say that because tuition rates are so high now, if you pay a student athlete, then they wouldn't have enough money to cover their tuition, and also to have enough money to live a comfortable life. But I feel like that's just wrong, because if you pay someone $200,000, I don't care how much taxes you pay and how much tuition you pay, you should be straight. So that's just my opinion. Like I said, instead of paying Nick Saban $7 million, paying $3 million, and that's still pretty good for a coach. And then just with that, there's his what's it called? His man, I blanked out. Yeah, so I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just unfair. Another debate is that if the university started paying student athletes, and this would just become a big business, and the highest bidder will get all the players. So, for instance, in football, all the big on college football, all the big programs will get them. Texas, Florida, Clemson, Alabama, obviously, they will all get the highest players because they will all pay them the most money. So, that's the bad part about it. But I still feel that they should be paid and compensated. So in conclusion, obviously college athletes should be paid because of how much money they make for them. So in this speech, I first talked about how much money the NCAA makes and how there are ways to pay the student athlete. Then I talked about how much the coaches make and how injuries can impact the life of an athlete. And third, I talked about being an athlete and a worker. And obviously, the cons of being a student athlete. I hope that in this speech I changed you guys' view about it, and hopefully in the future, they get paid.